She laughed and said, "At least my baby has a father." In that moment, the room went silent. But she had no idea her entire world was about to collapse in front of everyone. My name is Emily, and I am 34 years old. I never thought my life would become the kind of story people whisper about behind closed doors. But here I am, telling it to you myself. Being a single mom has been the most difficult and the most rewarding journey of my life. My son Liam is 12 now, and every time I look at him, I know that I made the right choice, even if most of my family never believed in me. From the beginning, my family made it clear what they expected. My mother Margaret raised us with rules carved in stone: college, career, marriage, then children, in that exact order. Anything else was a mistake, a failure, a shame to be hidden. My older sister Sarah fit that mold perfectly. She was the golden child, straight A student, Ivy League graduate, vice president at her firm before she even hit her 30s. She married Daniel, the successful businessman with the big smile and the bigger house. Their wedding was the event of the year, and my mother glowed with pride every time she said, "That's my daughter." And then there was me. I was the emotional one, the artist, the dreamer. I was in my 3rd year of art school when I met Liam's father. At first, he made me believe in forever, but forever ended after 3 months of my pregnancy, when he walked away with nothing but a note saying he wasn't ready for this kind of life. My family reacted exactly the way I knew they would. My father went silent. My mother cried as though I had ruined her reputation forever. And Sarah looked at me with that cold superiority only she could master, as if my choices had confirmed everything she already believed about me. Still, I kept Liam. I finished my degree online. I worked nights as a freelance designer, and I raised my son with love and resilience. We may not live in a mansion, but our little 2-bedroom apartment is full of warmth, creativity, and laughter. Liam is thriving in school, already winning science fairs, and writing short stories that amaze me. He is sensitive, intuitive, and braver than most adults I know. He is my greatest pride, but the shadow of my family has always followed me. Every holiday, every gathering, I felt it. The comparisons, the subtle digs, the way my mother would introduce me with a sigh instead of a smile. And when Sarah announced her pregnancy, the world practically stopped spinning for my parents. My mother called me, her voice thick with excitement, inviting me, though it sounded more like a command, to Sarah's baby shower at their enormous glass and stone mansion overlooking the city. I wanted to say no. I wanted to protect myself and my son from the judgment I knew we'd face again. But a small part of me still hoped, maybe, just maybe, we could begin to heal old wounds. So I agreed. What I didn't know was that the baby shower, meant to be Sarah's perfect moment, would end up exposing secrets so explosive they would shatter every illusion my family had ever held. Before I go on, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like your own family measured your worth with a checklist? If you know that feeling, drop a comment and tell me where you're from. I'd love to know who else out there understands what it means to carry family expectations like chains. Growing up, my mother never let me forget what I lacked. Every single achievement Sarah made was a golden trophy placed in the center of our living room, while mine were brushed aside like they barely mattered. When Sarah got straight A's, I was asked why I couldn't do the same. When she brought home a scholarship letter, I was told to stop wasting time on silly sketches and paints. Even our family friends knew the script. Sarah was the shining star, and I was the cautionary tale. Sarah's life looked like a movie. Ivy League diploma in a gold frame, a corner office with a view, a husband, Daniel, who owned properties across the state, and now a baby on the way. To my mother, it was perfection itself. And me, I was the opposite. I got pregnant at 22, and instead of applause, I got whispered judgments. Instead of champagne toasts, I got lectures about adoption. My mother begged me to fix the mistake, while Sarah sat in the corner with that smirk that said it all. I had proven myself inferior once again. But here's the truth. No one in my family ever cared to admit. I didn't fail. I built something real. I created a life with my son that was full of love, laughter, and honesty. And yet, no matter how many nights I stayed awake, juggling deadlines and bottles, no matter how much I sacrificed to keep a roof over our heads, I was never seen as enough. Not compared to Sarah. When Margaret called to remind me about the baby shower, her tone made it clear. Don't embarrass us, Emily. Dress properly. Bring a gift worthy of the occasion. And maybe leave Liam with a sitter. I bit my tongue and said yes, even though my blood boiled. Leave Liam? My son was the only reason I survived those years. He was coming with me, whether they liked it or not. The night before the shower, as we packed the gift, a handmade baby blanket and a card Liam had drawn himself, he sat at the kitchen table, staring at his phone with an intensity that made me pause. Everything okay, buddy? I asked, trying to keep my tone light. He hesitated, then slid the phone toward me. Mom, I need to tell you something. I saw Uncle Daniel last weekend. He wasn't alone. My stomach tightened. What do you mean? There was a woman with him, and 2 kids, a boy about my age and a little girl. He called the boy son, and the girl called him Dad. The words hit me like ice water down my spine. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe he was helping a client. Maybe Liam was mistaken. But deep down, I saw the certainty in his eyes. He hadn't imagined it. Please, don't say anything yet, Liam whispered. I'm not wrong, Mom. I want to protect you. But I think Uncle Daniel is hiding something. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. I knew Sarah's baby shower was already going to be difficult. But now, it wasn't just about surviving the judgment. It was about walking into a room with a secret so explosive it could destroy everything. The morning of the baby shower came faster than I wanted. I stared at my closet for what felt like hours, trying to find something that would pass my mother's silent inspection. Eventually, I settled on a navy blue dress with subtle patterns, safe enough for her standards, but still something that felt like me. Liam wore a crisp button-up shirt and slacks, fidgeting with the sleeves but standing tall. As I zipped his jacket, I could tell his mind was elsewhere. You sure you're okay? I asked, searching his face. He gave me a quick nod. I'm fine, just not excited about Grandma or Aunt Sarah. I knew what he meant. Every holiday, every gathering, my mother's gaze was like a magnifying glass, highlighting my flaws, while Sarah sparkled like gold. I squeezed his shoulder. We'll get through it together, like we always do. By the time we packed the gift, the soft baby blanket and Liam's hand-drawn card, I could feel that familiar knot in my stomach. Part dread, part stubborn hope that maybe this time would be different. On the drive over, the houses got larger, the lawns greener, the cars more expensive. Liam pressed his face to the window as we turned into the long driveway, leading up to Sarah and Daniel's mansion. It's even bigger than I remember, he whispered. My heart sank as I parked between 2 luxury SUVs. My practical sedan looked like it didn't belong. Neither did I, if I was honest. But Liam reached for my hand as we walked to the front door, and that simple gesture gave me courage. The door opened before we could knock. My mother stood there in a pale pink suit, her smile tight and polished. Her eyes darted over my dress, then Liam's shirt, and finally the gift bag. She gave a single approving nod. Good. You made it on time. Inside, the house was buzzing. Women in pastel dresses held champagne flutes, their laughter echoing through the marble foyer. The gift table overflowed with neatly wrapped packages, each one more expensive looking than the last. A banner stretched across the living room wall. Welcome, baby Harrison. And there, in the center of it all, sat Sarah. She looked flawless, 7 months pregnant, glowing under soft lighting, her makeup perfect, her smile wide. "Emily," she called, waving us over. "So glad you could make it." Her words sounded warm, but her eyes told a different story. A flicker of disdain, the kind she'd worn my entire life. Daniel hovered nearby in a tailored suit, a glass of sparkling water in his hand. His grin seemed rehearsed, too smooth. But what caught my attention was the way Liam froze beside me. His gaze locked on Daniel. My mother ushered us toward the buffet table, whispering, "Remember, this is Sarah's day. Don't draw attention." I wanted to laugh at the irony, as if I'd ever been allowed to draw attention. We filled our plates and found seats near the back, watching Sarah hold court like a queen. My mother floated around her, basking in reflected glory, and for a while I managed to stay quiet, smiling politely at the endless parade of subtle jabs from relatives. But then it happened. While Sarah was opening gifts and guests clapped at every tiny outfit, I saw Daniel step away. He moved into the hallway, phone pressed to his ear, voice lowered. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but his words floated across the room. "I can't talk now. Not with everyone here. I'll send the money tomorrow. Just keep it quiet." I froze, the fork halfway to my mouth. My pulse quickened. I turned to Liam, who had already heard it. His face was pale, his jaw clenched. That wasn't business talk. That was a secret. And Liam's eyes told me he knew it too. I tried to shake off what I had overheard, but the words clung to me like smoke. "Keep it quiet. Send the money tomorrow." My hands trembled slightly as I set my plate down. Daniel re-entered the room a moment later, his smile plastered on, sliding an arm around Sarah's shoulders, as though nothing had happened. Nobody else seemed to notice, but Liam and I exchanged a look. He had heard it, too. The gift opening continued, a parade of applause and laughter for every designer blanket and silver-plated rattle. When it was finally time for me to bring our gift forward, my mother waved me impatiently. "Emily, don't dawdle. Bring it up." I carried the carefully wrapped box, setting it gently on the table, and slipped back into the crowd. Sarah unwrapped it without fanfare. "Oh, a blanket set. Nice." She moved on without so much as mentioning the hand-stitched design or Liam's card. I felt my chest tighten. That blanket had cost more than I should have spent. But worse, I saw Liam's small smile fade as Sarah tossed his card aside without looking at it. He leaned closer to me, whispering, "That was rude, Mom." I squeezed his hand. "It's okay. We know it came from the heart." But I felt the sting, too. Moments later, Sarah picked up a simple baby monitor, cheap plastic, bought from the local department store, and squealed with delight. "Oh my gosh, this is perfect. Exactly what I needed." The guests clapped, my mother beamed, and I swallowed the bitter taste rising in my throat. By the time lunch was served, I knew where they wanted us. Our place cards were tucked in the far corner, with distant relatives I barely remembered. Sarah, Daniel, and my mother sat at the head table, surrounded by important friends, and business associates. Liam nudged his plate with his fork, staring at the polished wood floors. Grandma introduced Sarah's baby as her first grandchild. He muttered, "She always forgets about me." I touched his shoulder, my heart breaking. "She doesn't forget, sweetheart. She just chooses not to see what's right in front of her." The words felt heavy. He looked up at me, his eyes shining with a hurt I knew too well. "It's not fair, Mom." Before I could answer, Daniel's voice cut across the room. He was laughing loudly at something one of his friends said. But when he thought no one was watching, I caught it. The flicker of worry in his eyes. The way he kept checking his phone, slipping it under the table. I couldn't deny it anymore. Something about him wasn't right, and I wasn't the only one who knew it. Liam set down his fork, his jaw tight. "Mom," he whispered, "I have proof on my phone. If they keep talking about us like this, I'm showing everyone." I froze. My pulse hammered in my ears. He wasn't bluffing. My 12-year-old son, who had been treated like less than for years, was ready to blow everything apart in front of a room full of strangers. I reached for his hand, torn between pride and fear. "Liam, if you do that, everything will change. Not just for them, for us, too." He met my eyes, steady and unshaken. "I know, but maybe it's time someone told the truth." And sitting there in that corner, with the laughter and champagne clinking around us, I realized something chilling. The decision wasn't mine anymore. My son was ready to act. Have you ever kept silent about a truth because you feared the fallout? And have you ever wondered what might happen if you finally spoke up? The baby shower carried on like a carefully scripted play. Each scene designed to highlight Sarah's perfect life. Guests toasted her radiant glow. My mother beamed with pride. And Daniel, always Daniel, worked the room like a politician. He laughed, shook hands, and acted like the model husband. But every so often, his eyes flickered toward his phone, the mask slipping for just a second. Liam and I stayed tucked away in our corner, trying to blend into the wallpaper. But of course, blending in was never allowed for me. It was only a matter of time before the spotlight swung in my direction. It started innocently enough. One of Sarah's old college friends, all pearls and pastel, stopped by our table. "Emily," she said, her tone syrupy sweet, "and this must be your boy." She tilted her head, her smile too sharp. "You're raising him alone, aren't you? That must be so challenging." I swallowed hard. "He has plenty of role models, and he's doing very well." Her smile tightened. "Of course, but it's never quite the same as having a father in the home, is it?" Liam stiffened beside me. His knuckles whitened against his fork. I put a hand on his shoulder, but I could feel him trembling with anger. Before I could respond, Sarah's voice rose above the chatter. "I want to thank everyone for coming," she announced, her hand resting delicately on her baby bump. "This day means the world to me." The room quieted as she continued, her gaze sweeping over the crowd. Then her eyes locked on me, and her smile sharpened. "It's such a blessing to bring a child into a complete family, a mother and a father, committed and strong. Not everyone is so fortunate." The air shifted. Guests glanced in my direction, some sympathetic, others curious. My stomach tightened. I knew what was coming, but I wasn't ready. Sarah's lips curled. "At least my baby will have a father." She laughed, the sound brittle and cutting, and several guests chuckled with her. The words sliced through me. Years of judgment, years of subtle digs, all funneled into that one cruel line. My cheeks burned, my throat tightened, but I refused to cry, not here, not in front of them. I started to rise, ready to make a quiet exit, when I felt Liam's hand clamp onto my arm. I looked down, expecting to see hurt in his eyes. Instead, I saw fire, a calm, determined fire that scared me because it looked so much older than his years. "Don't go," he whispered. "Not yet." Before I could stop him, he pushed back his chair and stood. His small frame straightened, his voice clear. "That's not true, Aunt Sarah." The room stilled, conversations halted. Sarah blinked, caught off guard, then smirked. "Oh? And what do you mean by that?" Liam's hand slipped into his pocket. He pulled out his phone, his thumb hovering over the screen. He looked at me once, just once, and I knew what he was about to do. "Should I show them?" he asked, softly, but loud enough for the whole room to hear. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Sarah's smile faltered. Daniel went pale, and in that moment, I realized my 12-year-old son was about to reveal a truth that would tear the entire facade apart. Every eye in the room turned to my son. The champagne bubbles seemed to freeze midair. The soft music faded into silence. Sarah's laughter died on her lips as she stared at Liam, clearly not expecting her nephew to speak, let alone challenge her. "Liam," my mother said sharply, her voice strained, but still dripping with authority. "Sit down. The adults are talking." But Liam didn't move. His shoulders were squared, his chin lifted. He looked so small in that crowded room, yet somehow he commanded everyone's attention. "Aunt Sarah," he said evenly, "you shouldn't laugh at my mom. Not when Uncle Daniel." He paused, his voice steady, his eyes narrowing. "Isn't the man you think he is." A wave of whispers rippled through the guests. Sarah's face tightened. "Excuse me?" Daniel forced a laugh, loud and hollow. "Kids, you know how they exaggerate. Emily, control your boy." But Liam didn't waver. He tapped his phone, and suddenly a sound filled the room. Not music, not a video, an audio recording. The voice was unmistakable. Daniel's, smooth, low, affectionate. "I'll send the money tomorrow, babe. Don't worry. Kiss the kids for me." Gasps broke out across the room. I felt my knees go weak. I had heard Daniel whisper into his phone earlier, but hearing his words played back for everyone made my stomach drop. Sarah's eyes widened in horror, her hand instinctively clutching her belly. "What is this?" she demanded, her voice trembling. Daniel's mask cracked. His forced smile faltered. "This is ridiculous. He must have doctored that. Kids these days can fake anything." But no one looked convinced. Guests leaned closer, whispering furiously, eyes darting between Sarah, Daniel, and Liam. Liam's voice was calm, almost too calm for his age. "It's not fake. I recorded it last week at the mall. He wasn't alone. He was with a woman and 2 kids who called him Dad." The words struck the room like lightning. Sarah staggered back against her chair, her face ashen. My mother clutched at her pearls, whispering, "No, this can't be." Daniel slammed his glass down, his voice rising. "Enough! This is slander. Emily, you're putting him up to this, aren't you? You've always been jealous of Sarah's happiness. You'll do anything to ruin it." His anger rolled off him in waves, but I barely heard him. My focus was on Liam. He stood there, calm and unflinching, though his fists trembled at his sides. I rose slowly, placing a steadying hand on his shoulder. "Daniel, if you want to deny it, then deny it. But don't you dare accuse my son of lying." Sarah looked between us, confusion and dread battling on her face. "Daniel," she whispered, "tell me it isn't true. Please." But Daniel didn't answer her. He just glared at Liam, his jaw clenched tight, fury blazing in his eyes. And then as if the universe wanted to deliver the final blow. Liam's phone screen lit up in his hand. A notification popped up. A new message. He turned it toward me, but the room was so tense that everyone saw it. A text message preview from someone named Diane. Miss you already. The kids can't wait for Saturday. Love you. Sarah's hand flew to her mouth. My mother gasped. Guests leaned in closer, their curiosity morphing into shock. Daniel froze, his face drained of color. The mask he'd built for years had finally shattered. The room was chaos. Voices overlapped in shocked whispers. Chairs scraped against the polished floor as people leaned forward to get a better look. Sarah sat frozen, her trembling hands gripping the armrests of her chair. My mother's lips moved, but no sound came out. And Daniel stood rigid, his jaw tight, his knuckles white as he clenched his fists. That's not real, he growled, his voice low, desperate. It's some kind of prank. But Liam didn't back down. Calmly, almost too calmly, he tapped his phone again. The photo appeared on the screen, bright and undeniable. A picture of Daniel with another woman, his arm around her shoulders, 2 children flanking them. They looked like a family, smiling in a food court. Gasps echoed across the room. One guest muttered, "Oh my God." Another whispered, "That's him. It's really him." Sarah's face crumpled. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Who are they?" Daniel's mask shattered. His voice, once smooth and polished, cracked under the weight of the truth. "Sarah, listen. It's not what it looks like. I can explain." But Liam cut him off, his voice sharper than I had ever heard. "Explain what? That you called that boy son? That little girl called you daddy? Or that you've been lying to Aunt Sarah this whole time?" Daniel snapped, his fury boiling over. "Shut your mouth, you little brat." I stood instantly, stepping between them. "Don't you dare talk to my son that way." The room erupted. Guests rose from their seats, half in disbelief, half in morbid fascination. Sarah, pale and trembling, clutched her stomach as tears slid down her cheeks. My mother finally found her voice. "Daniel, tell me this isn't true." But silence spoke louder than denial ever could. His eyes darted around the room, searching for a lifeline. There was none. Then, in a move no one expected, Liam swiped his phone once more and connected it to the smart TV in the corner. Suddenly, the screen lit up with Daniel's other Facebook profile. The name read, Thomas Harris. Photos scrolled past. Vacations at Lake Tahoe, birthday parties in a backyard, Christmas mornings around a tree. And there he was, smiling wide, arms wrapped around the same woman and children from the mall. A perfect family. His other family. The guests gasped again, louder this time. Some clutched their pearls, others grabbed their purses, ready to leave. But Sarah couldn't move. She stared at the screen, her body shaking. 7 years, she whispered. 7 years I've been with you. And this whole time? Her voice broke completely. Daniel stumbled forward, his face twisted in desperation. "Sarah, please. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. I love you. I was going to tell you. I swear." But Sarah's eyes hardened. "You don't love me. You love your lies." Daniel turned then, his anger flaring again, and pointed a trembling finger at me. "This is your fault, Emily. You and your nosy little brat. You couldn't stand seeing your sister happy, so you ruined it. You destroyed my marriage." I braced myself for my mother's agreement, for the same scolding I'd heard my whole life. But instead, Margaret rose to her feet, her voice shaking with fury. "No, Daniel," she said, her words slicing through the air. "You destroyed yourself, and if you don't leave this house right now, I'll call the police." The room went dead quiet. Daniel's eyes darted wildly around the room, as though searching for an ally, but he found none. Not one person stood up for him. Even his closest business associates avoided his gaze, their faces pale with embarrassment. The tension was suffocating. "You'll regret this," he spat, finally, his voice trembling with rage. He snatched his car keys off the table, stormed toward the door, and slammed it so hard the crystal chandelier overhead rattled. The echo of the door reverberated through the silence he left behind. For a long moment, no one moved. Then, slowly, the guests began to collect their things. Some murmured excuses as they slipped out. Others whispered behind their hands, the drama too juicy to contain. Within 15 minutes, the only people left were my mother, my sister Sarah, my son Liam, and me. Sarah sat slumped in her chair, her flawless makeup streaked with tears. She looked smaller somehow, fragile in a way I had never seen her. Her hands kept drifting to her stomach, protective and trembling. I knelt beside her. "Sarah," I said softly, "I'm so sorry." Her eyes flicked to mine, filled with pain and something else, shame. "You must be happy now," she whispered bitterly. "Your son just destroyed my marriage." The words cut, but I didn't flinch. I shook my head firmly. "Number Daniel destroyed your marriage. Liam only showed you the truth you needed to see." She choked on a sob. 7 years. 7 years I believed in him, believed in everything he told me, and it was all lies. I took her hand gently. "You didn't deserve this. You deserved honesty, love, and respect. And you can still have those things, even if it looks different from what you imagined." For a long time, she didn't respond. Then she whispered, "But I treated you so badly. I judged you every step of the way. I laughed at you today, humiliated you. And you're still here, sitting with me." I felt a lump rise in my throat. That's what family is supposed to do. Not tear each other down for appearances. Stand with each other, even in the hardest moments. Her shoulders shook as she finally broke, sobbing into her hands. My mother moved closer, her usually sharp face soft and almost unrecognizable. She reached out to Sarah, then to me. "I failed both of you," she admitted, her voice trembling. "I was so focused on how things looked, degrees, houses, husbands, that I forgot what really matters. I made Emily feel small for years, and I ignored Liam when he needed love. And all the while, I praised a man who was lying to us." It was the closest thing to an apology I had ever heard from her. For once, I saw her clearly, not as the unshakable matriarch, but as a flawed woman who finally understood the damage her choices had caused. I exhaled slowly. "We can't change the past, Mom, but we can decide what happens next." Liam, who had been quiet, stepped forward. He looked at Sarah with surprising gentleness. "Aunt Sarah," he said softly, "I'm sorry you had to find out this way, but at least now you know the truth before it's too late." Sarah lifted her tear-streaked face, staring at him, and for the first time, she didn't look at him with pity or disdain. She looked at him with respect. "Thank you, Liam," she whispered. "You were braver than all the adults in this room today." The days that followed were hard. Sarah filed for divorce almost immediately, uncovering that Daniel had not only been unfaithful, but had siphoned money from their joint accounts to support his other household. My mother went through her own reckoning, reevaluating the values she had clung to so tightly. For the first time in years, she stopped comparing us. She started visiting my apartment, praising Liam's artwork, listening to his stories with genuine interest. As for Sarah, her perfect life crumbled, but she didn't crumble with it. Slowly, she began rebuilding. I sat with her through doctor appointments, helped her paint the nursery in her new home, and reminded her that she didn't have to face motherhood alone. Ironically, the very path she once mocked me for walking became her own reality. And in that shared struggle, we finally found common ground as sisters. The day Sarah gave birth to her daughter, I stood by her side. Liam held the baby first, cradling his cousin with a tenderness that made my eyes sting with tears. My mother wept openly, calling this little girl her second grandchild. And for once, she didn't forget that Liam had been the first. Watching them together, I realized something profound. Sometimes the truth shatters everything we thought we knew, leaving behind ruins. But in those ruins, something stronger, something real, can grow. Life has a way of breaking us down to build us back up. And sometimes the people we least expect, like a 12-year-old boy, are the ones who remind us what courage and integrity really look like. The lesson I carry now is simple but powerful. Family isn't about perfection, appearances, or meeting someone else's definition of success. It's about love. It's about forgiveness. It's about choosing to stand together, even after the lies and the hurt. Hate and resentment can poison a life, but love has the power to heal even the deepest wounds. I forgave my mother. I forgave my sister. And one day, maybe Sarah will find the strength to forgive herself. As for me, I look at Liam and know that despite everything, we are building a beautiful life. A life grounded in truth, not illusion. And that, more than anything, is what makes us whole.